back. This is still the weekend show on ABS Television. We sincerely apologize for our failure to bring you the newspaper review. It was due to some unforeseen circumstance, but it will not repeat itself again. Now, this is the discussion segment, and today we're talking about something very trendy, something that has actually been very disturbing, especially in these recent weeks. Talking about the increasing cases of suicide in our nation, especially relating to the youths. So today, David and I and the entire weekend show crew decided that it's very pertinent we talk about the thing that leads to most of the suicide cases, talking about depression. So today we are talking about managing depression. How do you manage depression? Is suicide an option? Can suicide ever be an option? So we have two gentlemen in the studio with us. We have Odumegwu Nonso. Nonso is... Okay, sorry. Odumegwu Mezie. He's a public speaker, and he has actually been through the process of depression, and he survived. So he's a survivor this morning, right?
Yeah. Everybody's a survivor in one or two aspects of life. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
All right, we also have Dr. Okpara. He's a psychologist, right?
A clinical psychologist.
Clinical psychologist.
Welcome.
You're welcome.
It's my pleasure.
Thank you very much. So today we're talking about depression. The reason why we decided to talk about this was after the case of the UNN English department student who committed suicide, Chukwemeka Akachi. A lot of people came out to actually share their experiences, talking about the fact that once in their lifetime they've been depressed and they've actually considered suicide. So we felt there is need for us to go back to the roots, learn how to manage depression. You said you've been depressed?
Yeah, definitely. I've been depressed a couple of times. So
couple of times.
Yeah, definitely. Especially when you're working on something and you can actually see yourself failing a couple of times. Definitely, you have every tendency to get depressed.
Yes, when we started, we said several people must have set out targets for the year, or even before now.
Sure.
And then you get to the level of not achieving them, and you begin to get depressed. Well, I think let's begin from the angle of
what is depression? Because he made a statement off camera that I would like him to explain. What is depression?
Okay, generally, once ma'am, I'm very grateful for inviting me. Okay. Generally, depression is a state. And when you talk about depression, there must have been a diagnosis. We are looking at, occasionally we have low mood. Okay. Low mood is different from being depressed. When you are thwarted, your effort to achieve a particular goal is thwarted. It's not something that is palatable. Okay. So, in looking at what depression is, let me adopt definition. Okay. Because as a practitioner, we have where we base our judgments, what we look at as our criteria. We have the one we call Diagnostic and Statistical Manual. It's currently on the 5th edition. It's of American Psychological Association's what's it called, standard. Okay. It's being used worldwide by all practicing mental health experts to make diagnosis. It enlisted about 8 to 9 symptoms. We call all of them syndrome of what depression is all about. So one item alone cannot be used to classify one as being depressed.
Really?
You have hopelessness there. You have what we call psychomotoric lethargy. That is when you are of low mood, you lose energy. You won't be motivated to engage into any action. We have insomnia. We have what's it called?
Insomnia is sleeplessness.
Sleeplessness. We have the one we call even suicidal ideation, suicide ideation, ideation, suicide thoughts. Okay. Then we also have the one we look at loss of interest in pleasurable activities. Okay. Understand? Wow. So, and it has a criteria, an option B, that you have to see four of these, including low mood in a client or a patient before you now say that this person is depressed. And it must have occurred not less than 2 weeks. So for you to say that one is
just
depressed.
Just a minute, we have a caller.
Okay.
Hello? Hello? Hello, please change your location and call us back. Go on.
So you have to have all these things present before you now say that one is depressed. It's not something that you just look at, use your quote unquote number 6 to say that one is depressed. It's something that demands an expert input.
Okay, does it mean, like you said, the person involved cannot say he or she is depressed?
Of course. Just like you are, when you have headache, you may likely associate it to malaria.
Okay.
But when you come to a doctor, there are other presentation, physical health presentation that comes with headache as well. So it is left for the doctor to decide. That's what we call differential diagnosis. Two presentations looking alike, but one thing differentiates them. So it is that expertise that will make the doctor to identify that particular one that differentiates the two and say that this is what you are having.
Okay.
You understand? If need be, he or she will require you to go for lab test to confirm his suspicion.
Okay, wait, I want to understand this whole concept of depression. Are you saying it's possible that Mezier here might not have been depressed when he was actually saying he was depressed?
Yes. Low mood can equally affect one's function, day-to-day functioning. In all these things, okay, let's take for example, everyday life we face different psychological, challenges. Understand? Why is it possible that some shoulder it while others do not? So Mezier may be having experience. For him, he classifies it as depression because depression may be a layman's understanding of low mood, or a layman's understanding of I am not happy. Are you getting it? But in the context of digesting it, experts we make the difference clearer for you.
So if you're in low mood and you're still thinking of committing suicide, doesn't mean you're not depressed.
There's no way low mood could lead to suicide. For you to be low mood, you must have some of the criteria to be diagnosed with major depression.
Okay, Mezier, please share your experience. Let's use you as a case study.
Actually, I was diagnosed by a clinical psychologist.
Okay, you wait.
So it happens like I was applying for a visa to study abroad for further my studies a couple of times, and it was rejected. And the circumstances around the whole application and everything, I was meant to be picked. You understand? So actually, it made me feel bad. It made me, I had low mood, just like he said. But as time goes on, I started withdrawing myself from people around me, trying to stay away, stay alone, having suicidal thoughts and all of that. I'm a public speaker anyway. I talk to people and I can talk people out of depression. But when it came to me, I had to visit someone better, someone certified in the field to help me overcome depression. Because probably if I had not done that, maybe I won't be here today to share this with you.
Okay. You're a public speaker.
Yeah, we have a call.
All right.
Hello?
Yeah. Hello, good morning. Good morning and welcome. Oh.
Please, can you speak louder? Project your voice.
I think it's a network issue. Please call us back. And maybe if you're not reaching us on any of the phone lines on your screen, you can use the WhatsApp line to send a comment or a reaction. It's not for calls. People have been calling on the WhatsApp line. It's not for calls. What you do there is to send a comment or reaction. Just write your name and where you're writing from, then make your comment and we'll read it out here on TV.
All right, we have another caller. Hello?
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. What's your name and where you're calling from?
John Paul, I called, but the network is not helping me.
Okay.
John Paul, go ahead.
Yeah, good morning to Richard here, good morning to David, good morning to David,
Dala.
You have, first and foremost, you have to know that stress is quite different from depression. That when somebody is under stress, and because of them, when somebody is in that depression. So, depression and depression are the highest state of what you are stress. That is to say, you have tried all moves, wherever you are, whatever you try to achieve nothing that is impossible before.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, John Paul.
That is something that
All right, thank you.
Thank you so
That's
much.
how far we'll take.
All right,
that
that's
other
the
people-
God factor again. Did you resort?
Just like he was saying, managing depression is from individual differences. What works for me might not work for another person. You get, so how I manage my own might not be how someone else might manage his or her own. So it's an individual difference. When he talks about the God factor, just like he's a certified psychologist here, but when just like you said, when you're depressed, you talk to someone, find someone and talk to. You can talk to your religious persons, maybe your priest, your imam, and what have you, and the person might use the God factor and maybe want to take it in a spiritual aspect. What the person actually needs is counseling, pure counseling and everything. So it might be, it can go south. Maybe someone might be depressed, and in course of finding help, it might take the person backward and maybe way out, maybe trying to commit suicide or something.
I think that's actually leading to my next question.
Yeah.
Doc, I want to bring you in now. Is it possible, not is it possible, why is it that some people still seek that help and it doesn't come out good? Or the person, like, let me use the story of Akachi, for example. The story had it that there were several people who had talked to him. Several people have counseled him. Why didn't it work?
Okay. You know, depression is a serious mental health issue. Very serious, especially when it is of major in nature. It borders on thought processes. Okay. And it also has biological challenges as well. It comes with biological changes in the brain. Okay. So you can manage depression either through psychopharmacology, administration of drug, and also at the same time giving psychotherapy. In fact, research have established that combining the two is more effective. Okay. And also studies have shown that psychotherapy is as effective as psychopharmacology, that is administration of drugs. So in context of Akachi, who managed him? Because when you look at this management issue, it's not something that, as he rightly said, the pastor we talked to...
Akachi wrote something before he died. He wrote something about that it's consuming a lot of money and
he said his life is like on a life support.
Yes.
You understand?
Yes.
His life is that's the picture. That's one of the pessimistic statements people that are depressed make. He sees himself as worthless. I am worthless. But the expert, why I say who managed him? In this context, you are looking at, as a professional, there are known established ways that are more effective, in as much as there are individual differences. When you meet a client, you assess the client. Not necessarily he or she is there for the depression issue, but there are therapies that don't work for a particular person.
Okay.
So the expertise demands that you identify the nature of this person, the makeups of this person, for you to know what to tell to him and what is also possible for him to carry out in his environment.
You said something about somebody that is depressed, has already given up on life most times.
That's the assumption.
How do I, as a layman, identify a friend or a family member who is depressed? Let me assume that was his friend when he was depressed. Now, you have already given us reasons to believe that low mood is not depression.
It's part of
it's part of symptoms.
It
might not be the
So
depression.
how
using
do
it alone,
I
you
now?
cannot classify one as depressed.
Okay, so how do I, a non-doctor, I'm not in the psychological field, I'm just his friend, a layman. What signs will I see? And I'm like, bros, you need help.
Okay, let me still bring in the issue that the criteria I used.
Okay.
These are symptoms you have to identify, and these are questions the experts will ask you, and from there infer how good you are in them. When we talk about insomnia, there are so many reasons one could be able not to sleep. Understand? When you are troubled, ordinarily you don't usually go until that trouble is solved. Understand? And I'm saying, whatever I'm saying here, I'm saying it in line with it must have been in place for 2 weeks.
Okay.
At least 2 weeks. When you're talking about insomnia, one of it, when you're talking about low interest in pleasurable activities, you see someone that likes going out, all of a sudden he or she is withdrawn. Understand? It must have occurred for not less than 2 weeks. When you see somebody that is what's it called? As someone that's energetic, robust, all of a sudden, he lacks energy to engage into any activity. You understand? Food, poor appetite or overeating.
Okay, so someone wants to join us before.
Okay.
Hello? Hello? Hello, good morning. Can you lower the volume on your TV sets so that we can get you clearly? Good morning.
Good morning.
Your name and where you're calling us from? Your name?
My name is Obed from Oka.
Okay, Obed from Oka. Go on.
So, depression, the factors that the clinical psychology expert. And I think that before someone commits suicide, also understanding in the fact that there is a spirit.
Okay.
There is a spirit and also some factors in the family. That can lead someone to commit suicide. Yes. So there is a spirit. Therefore, if someone is depressed at home, he should also seek the medical aspect and also seek the spiritual aspect.
Okay.
Thank you
It
very
can
much.
be helped in prayer and counseling.
Thank you very much.
Can I
Thank you
You
very
can
much.
react.
Can I quickly say something? Science is not antithetical to religion, and it will never be.
Yeah.
What we are looking at is
The science aspect.
if prayer could have been the solution. Prayer, just sit down and pray
On your own.
on your own, or even seek
Oh,
for.
can I ask a question?
Okay.
Sometimes you see a particular family, they already had like cases of suicide. They have a history
Yes.
of suicide.
Yes.
Does it mean that depression is hereditary?
Fine, is totally hereditary.
Because
Let
that's
me add to that as well. When there's what we call diathesis, the likelihood or the predisposition to present whatever it is, be it depression, be it diabetes or anything. Some people inherited it. It runs in the family. But what we are looking at is the environment. Both interact. I may be of diathesis to present diabetes, but I fail to be taking sugary things. Maybe I have observed it, it runs in my family, and I stop taking sugary. I will never come up with diabetes. Even if I do, it will never be as high as how it would have been.
Let's take this call. Hello.
Good morning once again.
Good morning. Your name and where you're coming from?
Big John Paul of the line. Big John Paul. I'm sorry I called back.
Okay.
It's okay.
I want to speak.
all right. In 30 seconds, please, so that we can take others.
One of the resource persons is saying in the studio, it's not something that is not to prayers. I can't much about that, but that is not why I called back. My reason of calling back is that anybody that commits suicide as a result of depression, take it out to the state, you find out that there is what I call lineage factor.
Lineage.
Suicide is not something someone can just wake up one day and say, I want to commit suicide. There is an instigating spirit that will make one. So something just people is a good, just as a result of depression. One thing leads to another.
Thank you very much.
I want to.
Thank you, John Paul.
I see you want to
Really
react to
have
that.
time.
Yeah.
I want to add something to it.
Okay.
How does our cultural views about suicide affect seeking help? Like he's emphasizing on that there is a possibility that this lineage has been destined to commit
Yeah.
suicide. How does cultural beliefs?
In the Igbo culture, suicide is seen as a taboo, just like in every culture, I think so. Things fall apart. If you can remember, Okongo tried committing suicide, stuff like that.
But does it affect people seeking help?
Yeah, some people might see it as if I tell this person, I might say it as you useless already, like
Yeah,
you
exactly. Because some
you don't
people
have
are
any. Some people,
commenting.
yeah. Some people be like, why would I tell this person this kind of? You might see me from the wrong angle of it. Might not actually bring the help I seek, something like that. So what I want to point out is, just like it might not actually be a lineage factor.
Okay.
Nigeria, as it stands now, it's very hard. It's very hard to survive in here. And from the current, the new statistics says that 22.2% of Nigerians are chronically depressed, like at the moment. So you find out it can be caused from maybe the current hardship of the nation. It can cause from setback, coming from different angles of life. So it might not actually be a lineage factor or a cultural factor, just like stipulating on the call. So it can come from, it can just spring up from anywhere.
Okay, let me quickly add as well. You know, part of when we say hopelessness, hopelessness means that you've looked at yourself, you place no worth on yourself. And it is associated with social annihilation, as in you withdraw, or you keep aloof from others. And there's what we call social support.
Okay.
If, like, I don't know, when you talk about suicide, one of the assumptions of people that are theories on suicide, that postulates on suicide is saying that social annihilation, people that are likely to commit suicide, they don't easily have social connectedness. That social connectedness will give you what we refer to, what we call social support. People will try to give meaning to your life, make you see more reasons you should live, for you to see some things differently.
Doc, before you continue, I want to bring in one of the cases we had in the week. The former RCCG pastor that committed suicide during the week was a boisterous person.
Yes.
According to the story, I don't know
I
how
saw
true
some
it
of
is.
his videos.
Yes, he sang on the Sunday before the week. He did what he did.
Yes.
Then Akachi, according to a close friend that also wrote on Facebook, said he's the kind of person that once he comes into an environment, he spices it up.
Yes.
How do you now connect this withdrawal and all those hopelessness to finding out that the person you've been joking with finally ends up
Actually depressed.
It's funny. It's funny, really. But the thing is this, you know, there's what they call masking. When you see someone, that person may be projecting as if he or she is happy. But inwardly, and again, this is what the world want to see. The world want to see him as a happy person because of the role he or she is playing. Are you seeing it? But deep inside him, he or she is not that.
So it's wrong to see someone who finally commits suicide as being a coward?
Not really. The thing is this. It boils down to interpretation of events. Okay. Understand? How do you interpret things that happens in your life?
Okay, so
and there are so many
we
factors.
don't really have much time.
Okay.
I'd like to get back to you, Mezie.
Okay.
Can you advise our viewers? You've gone through depression. You know what's involved. Now, based on how you were able to survive, please advise our viewer out there who might be going through what you went through.
Just like I have a specialist here with me, I will advise you to seek solutions. And just like you have to work on yourself, how you absorb, how you take your life events. Just like you pointed out something about social media, you stop competing on healthy competitions. It actually brings the increase on the rise of suicide. So when you start competing yourself with some other person you see on social media, it might actually make you want to feel depressed. So you just have to try and understand yourself, understand the pace you're moving with, and maybe seek solution when you feel any stuff like that.
Please advise our viewer, especially the depressed one, from the clinical.
Okay. In addition to what my brother have said, it's not easy for the depressed patient to seek for help. It's not easy because at that point in time, he lacks motivation. It is people around him. So what I'm recommending that sensitization should be increased because it is already being done. It should be increased on how to identify who is of suicide prone. Nigeria is suicide prone. Understand? So when you look at it, for you to seek for expert assistance, people around should also be of help.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much for gracing the weekend show.
It's my
Thank
pleasure.
Thank you so much for teaching us a lot.
A lot.
A lot. David, do you have anything to say?
Finally, I'll just say, how do you judge happiness? What do you measure as your happiness? Is it what another person has achieved or the little ones you've got at the time you should?
All right, from me, I would say look closely. If you have a friend, a family member, look beyond what you see, and you might actually find a depressed person. And you can actually be the help that person has been waiting for. The weekend show continues with breakfast news. Please don't go anywhere.